Hello and welcome to another Moaning Show. We finally reached episode 60, and as always, I am your host, HED01. In this particular edition, I would very much like to talk to you about the BBC and the BBC television licence. Now, it goes without saying that the BBC have always had the TV licence, and it seems as though in this day and age that philosophy is a bit of a dinosaur, to be brutally honest. When we pay our TV licence, it seems as though we're paying for less and less content every year. But consider this for a moment. The television licence isn't just for television, it's also for their radio content, and it also pays for the upkeep of their websites as well. The problem is with the TV licence, every single time that you pay it, you feel like you're getting ripped off because, oh, fucking load of shit that is. And it's because of a lot of the programs these days are repeats. All you see is repeat after repeat after repeat. You might get the odd new antique program or property program, and it's annoying as fuck when you're trying to look for something to watch. You go to the BBC, which used to be, quite frankly, the best television service in the world. There's no doubt about that. They had access to, shows from the US. They had access to a rather impressive live sport portfolio, which has obviously seen better years. And I will say this now, the BBC's drama, their drama is second to none. Okay, they do the best costume dramas, stuff like Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Dickens dramas, like Martin Chuzzlewit and David Copperfield, stuff like that. They are second to none in that. They are even better than what you see out of some movies. So I will give the BBC credit and praise where that credit and praise is due, okay? Because they are the forerunners of that sort of thing. There's nothing that people like more than a very good acting in a very good acted out drama. Poldark is a recent example of that. I don't watch these things; they don't particularly interest me. It's got to be filled with blood, guts, gore, action, suspense, basically a thriller. With stuff like Poldark, Pride and Prejudice, it's like, yeah, all right, it's what some people pay their television licence for. Is it worth it? Very good question. At the moment, no, it's not worth it. The issues with the licence being worth it, you're paying over £100 a year, and that's every single television, mind you. Every single household that has a television, which should be 100% of the, of the public and stuff, you're paying for something that is deteriorating in quality, okay? And the worst thing about that is the fact that you're paying all this money in year after year, and every single year the content gets shittier and shittier and shittier. There's nothing you can do about it. You don't have a say in what you and I watch. We haven't got a say, or let me rephrase that. We don't have a say in what they make, okay? In daytime television, you've got your property programs, your antique programs, your sort of consumer programs, like a little bit like Watchdog or Rip Off Britain, that sort of bullshit. And then it transforms into, it stops for the news for about an hour, where they'll show what the news is, usually fucking Brexit. and all the bullshit that comes with that. And then they'll have the regional news and all of that useless crap. Now, before I go on and rant about the real reason I'm brought up this video in this episode, the BBC are very good at doing what they do. It's just what they do in the last, say, 5 to 6 years has gotten much, much worse. Much, much worse. And you believe that eventually they're going to have to go with advertising, like Channel 4, ITV, every other fucking channel in existence does. Or they're going to have to go a subscription-based service. Now, what this will entail is a little bit like Netflix and obviously Amazon Prime and other streaming services. And you will see what people really want to watch rather than what's offered and what isn't offered. In other words, crap shows and all that sort of shit will barely get a look in. And the political discussion shows you see of a morning, Victoria, Derbyshire, all that bullshit, they'll just fizzle out because nobody wants to watch that shit. The political climate that we've had in the last few years since Brexit was brought up, voted on by the public and, fucked about with by the politicians, has led this country to be really fucked off with fucking politics, Brexit and all that sort of shit. And I'm trying not to segue too far in one direction. Okay? Now, what I'm on about is the fact that you'll have your categories. You'll have your soap operas, which will obviously be massive on this subscription-based service if it comes to fruition. You'll have your drama, you'll have your comedy, you'll have your sport, you'll have your factual, which will have shit like Rip Off Britain, Watchdog, Crime Watch, stuff like that. And you'll also have your sport. Now, as the years have gone by, the BBC has gone from the best sport, right down to mediocre, because the best free-to-air sports channel at the moment is ITV4. It has tennis, it has IPL cricket, the league in India, that's 2020, I think, something like that. It has a lot of cycling. It has the British Touring Car Championship, which I'm a huge fan of right now. And it also has La Liga, I think, as well. Which is fucking incredible, quite frankly, which is putting the BBC sports coverage in the shade. At present, the BBC will show Wimbledon. They will show football highlights on Match of the Day. They currently have the rights to show live FA Cup games, and yet they still don't take the opportunity to show 3 FA Cup matches when it's FA Cup week. They'll show 2 matches, one on the Friday night and one on the Sunday, and you should be showing a match a day on the FA Cup. The FA Cup is the oldest tournament football in the world, and you're still not showing it to its peak audience. Okay, the dream of FA Cup fans, the dream of football fans, is to see those minnows like my local team Woking, who play in the Vanarama Conference. Okay, they played Watford in the 3rd round of the FA Cup last year. Premiership opposition, top level opposite. I say top level, next to top level opposition, and it was a dream of mine to see that on the TV. It was on the TV, but it was on fucking BT Sport. Okay, they chose another. I think they had Liverpool playing their 3rd round tie. I think it was against more Premiership opposition. Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. You got the best team, or the 2nd best team in the country, playing Premiership opposition. Blah 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 blah. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. Okay. Now, again, I'm kind of segueing onto sport, free to wear crap. But what I'm saying is, there's not a lot else. The new American football season has started, and that means a lot to me and my dad. We've been following it ever since I can remember. We'd kind of forgotten about it 10 years or so, but now we're heavily into it, and it's kind of my first or second favourite sport at the moment. Football can go fuck itself. Watch a past Moaning Show for references and thingies there. Prima donnas. Not that there aren't prima donnas in American football, but it's a contact sport, unlike football, where you get brushed with a feather and you go down as if you've been shot. But anyway, I digress. So the sport portfolio, you'll get highlights now of Rugby League Challenge Cup, which they used to show a game round live, maybe even two, with the likes of St Helens, Wigan, Widnes, Castleford, Leeds. They're all gone over to Sky, and that's another subject for another time. But the issue here is the fact that their sport portfolio has gone down tremendously. Okay? Now, what I'm on about is the simple fact of their sports section in this prospective and theoretical streaming service will be shit, is basically what I'm trying to get at. Now, as for all other sections, the soap operas will be just basically EastEnders, they'll produce other ones if a streaming service is the way that they go. Many, like myself, believe that this should be the way TV should be. You should be able to, say, like if an episode of EastEnders is recorded today, it should be available to watch within 24 hours of it being recorded, right? At the moment, it's on 4 times a week, okay? At certain set times. I don't care about the times. I don't fucking watch them. They're a piece of shit, as are all soap operas. Yes, they are shit. They're unrealistic. There's no happiness in them whatsoever. There's no farting, burping, or fucking swearing in any of them. It's so unrealistic. There's not one happy wedding in any soap opera, which is a load of bollocks. People get married all the time and they're happy as fuck. Okay? And in soap operas, there's not one happy wedding. Usually the bride fucks off or has shagged the best man or the best man's mate or whatever, and she's run off with him. The father doesn't approve, so the wedding doesn't take place, or the bride is treated like shit by the thingy, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll get my revenge on him. I don't take him to be my lawfully wedded husband. Fuck off. Fuck off. Let's have a happy wedding. Let's have a burp, maybe, sometimes. Let's have a... All right, you're not going to swear before the watershed. That's not what these soaps are about. But you can tell there's situations in some soaps where something dastardly's gone down and, there'll be this shitty little punch-up or whatever. And most of the time, you see movies and things like that. It's, oh, I'm going to kick your fucking ass, There's none of that in soap operas, and yet there's probably punch-ups twice a week in every soap. But that's the soaps. The dramas, like I say, the Beeb are second to none with the dramas. And it would just be a failure if as much as I would love to see the streaming service happen on the BBC, I just don't think it's applicable to a lot of their programming that they put on the TV right now. This is where the BBC are being basically chained, fucking chained to fuck. They've got their hands tied, they can't do fuck all by the government because it is a public service. If it is a public service, they're then regulated by whatever government is in control of, the people at that time. The elected officials in the country are basically saying, right, you've got to save X amount of money by X amount of time, because you're not producing a product that is suitable for all, or whatever, and all that sort of shit. This is where this becomes tricky for the BBC, although I have a fucking answer for you. Watch. They now are cutting the funding for over 75s with the TV licence. Okay? Now, this has caused an uproar. This has caused all sorts of fucking worrying and, oh, I ain't paying that. Because up until, I don't know the exact date. This is the Moaning Show. I don't do fucking research on a video by video basis. But what I will say is that I think it comes into force next year that the over 75s are going to have to start paying for their TV licence, and they used to get it free. This is how the BBC are going to save the money that they need to save as per government rulings. How can you have a channel service? How can you have a TV and radio service along with their their internet services? How can you have a service like that needs to be the best it could possibly be? In other words, value for money that you and I are paying into their coffers for the wages of the staff and the so-called global superstars that they pay for. Yeah. Here is a cut in the so-called funding that they give for over 75s to watch, listen, view their content, and there's been an outcry. There's been a nationwide outcry. There's been protest marches, for fuck's sake. And they're going, we want free over 75s. Yes, worth protesting about. But if the decision has already been made at the top level, what's the point? It's like saying, we want free internet. You're not going to get free internet. You're not going to change anyone's mind by walking a few steps, holding a piece of cardboard, and saying we want free licenses for the over 75s. The thing is, the BBC can give free licenses for the over 75s. They have said, yes, we can. We'd have to get rid of BBC 2, BBC 4, and I think Radio 5 Live, their main sports broadcasting. Let's talk realistically for a second. They're not going to do that in 100 out of 100 attempts. Chances to do that. Where they can save the money is regional broadcasting. Get rid of it. There's no need for it whatsoever. You want to find out what's happening in the world? You watch the national broadcast of the national news. The 1 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news. Okay? You watch other channels. Okay? You look at the fucking internet, what you're watching this on now. You watch YouTube, things like that. You have a look on the internet, see what's going on in the world. Look at social media. Look at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that bollocks. Okay? You find out what's going on in the world and you think, right, that's that. Regional news and weather. Get rid of it. It's fucking pointless. And another thing you can get rid of as well is regional radio. The most listened to radio stations in the country are Radio 2, maybe Magic, Heart, Radio 1 obviously, Radio 3, 4. If you like sport, you put Radio 5 Live on for the, sports broadcast like football, cricket, whatever's going on in the world. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah. But fuck, and I mean this to the nth degree, fuck regional news, sport, and fucking regional weather. And this fucking weather. You go watch the news, sort of blah, 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 load of bollocks, Brexit, bollocks, load of shit, yeah? And we go over to blah, blah, blah with the weather. And you get this numpty going, just pretend the Dalek's the weather, okay? And say, well, it's going to be raining, the weather's going to be, oh, wait, make sure you take a brolly. And then, as soon as the news broadcast is over, they'll go to the regional news, which is more mundane than you could possibly believe. Oh, people are arrested and and you think, yeah, okay, boring, not relevant, shit, boring, crap. And then they have regional fucking weather, where some numpty from down here, because I'm recording this from Devon, or wherever you're from, oh, it's not going to be very pleasant today, it'll be full of fucking rain. You know that already. Fuck off. You know it already. You've just seen it 10 minutes ago on the national broadcast. You look for your area because that's where you fucking live. And this twat, fucking numpty, just says, oh, it'll be wet today, take a brolly out with ya. And you've just been told that 10 minutes ago. What the fuck? 10 minutes ago, a national weather presenter has told you that it's going to be wet all over the fucking country. And you think, God, what's the point in regional weather broadcasts? I'll tell you what the fucking problem is here, okay? The problem is the fact that they spend so much on regional bullshit. Who is going to miss content from your local radio station? Not many people. If you want to listen to commercial, local radio, you listen to commercial radio. Back where I used to come from in Surrey is a radio station called County Sound. That was fine. It was commercial. It ran adverts. It made money. Okay, the problem here is that the BBC are so fucking far up their own arse, they won't get rid of any of that. Oh, local people need to have an identity. No, they fucking don't. Piss off. All we need to know is, are our streets safe? Yes, they are. No, they're not. But you can read about all that shit on your fucking website or local papers that come through the door. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else. And like I say, for the regional weather forecasts, they're a waste of fucking time. Yeah, they might be, I don't know, 10% more in depth than the one you just watched on the national one. But what is the fucking point in all of that? Eh? What is the point? They probably won't change their minds. See, that's the problem. As I've just mentioned, they're so far set in their ways. They're so far paying their superstars, superstar presenters and all that sort of shit, so much fucking money, they can't afford, to give the over 75s back their free television license. And it's the twats, basically, like ex-sports stars talking, and that's all they're doing is talking about their particular sport. And it's like they pay ex-sports star, say, 30,000 a week or 30,000 a year just to talk about the sport they used to take part in, and that's where they're losing the money. They're paying their superstar presenters like Graham Norton masses and masses of fucking money. Their newsreaders are on over 100,000 a year, and it's just, there's a lot of people, yeah, all right, they won't have the qualifications or whatever, but a lot of people can just see someone reading from an auto cue or reading from a piece of paper. Okay, there's a lot of people, myself included in this world, that would read the news from an auto cue, yeah, they would read the news from a piece of paper, and they would do it for at least 50 grand less, maybe even 75 grand less. Okay, there's a lot of people, myself included, that are on less than 20k a year that would do that for 20k a year. Save some fucking money and bring in some younger talent that can do the stuff for less money. All right. I apologise about the cut in the middle of this video. I'm trying something out brand new this week, and just to see what happens. It's pissed me off to the nth degree, but again, it's trying different things. Okay. I may try something else for the next Moaning Show, which you'll see next time around. All comments, thoughts and suggestions in the box down there, you bastards! And we'll catch you next time for more moaning. I hope you've stayed with me for this one. Cheers.